Courtroom drama in Utah. Shadows before the verdict. Before we dive into today's case, hit that subscribe button if you crave the truth hidden behind courtroom doors, the kind of truth that keeps you up at night wondering what really happened. The storm had rolled into Salt Lake City before sunrise, dragging cold wine down the narrow streets like a warning. Outside the 3rd District Courthouse, reporters gathered in a tight cluster, their lenses pointed at the heavy wooden doors as if they expected them to burst open at any second. Inside, the atmosphere was no warmer, the kind of tension that settled in your chest and refused to leave. And at the center of the pressure sat Evan Mercer, a 34-year-old former financial advisor turned murder suspect. His dark suit was pressed perfectly, but his eyes told another story. They were hollow, restless, scanning every face in the courtroom as if searching for one person, or making sure someone wasn't there. The trial had already gained national attention. A well-known client, Rachel Wyman, had vanished without a trace 6 months earlier, and Evan was the last person to see her alive. For weeks, investigators found nothing. No body, no weapon, no witness confident enough to place him at the scene. But then, one night in late August, a hiker in the Wasatch Mountains discovered something half-buried in a shallow ravine. Rachel's scarf, torn, stained, and unmistakably hers. It wasn't proof of murder, but it was enough to ignite everything the police had suspected. And now, as the trial began, the stakes were impossibly high. The prosecution opened strong. Assistant District Attorney Clara Jensen, known for her sharp courtroom instincts, stepped forward with a calm that unnerved even seasoned attorneys. She described Evan as a man with mounting debt, a failing career, and a client whose sudden disappearance conveniently aligned with his financial collapse. He was the last person to see her, Clara said, lifting Rachel's scarf for the jury to see. And the only person with a motive to make sure she never spoke again. Evan's attorney, Mark Hanley, countered with confidence. He argued that the case was built on suspicion, not evidence. What the state calls motive, we call coincidence. What they call proof, we call assumption, he said, pacing in front of the jury. Rachel Wyman is missing, and that is tragic. But missing is not murdered. Not in Utah. Not anywhere. The jury watched both sides with matching intensity, but the courtroom only grew more electric when the first witness was called, Detective Lauren Hale, the lead investigator. Her voice was steady as she described the initial search efforts, the missing person reports, the interviews, the long nights combing through canyons and trails. But something in her story made the room lean in. She explained how, early in the investigation, Evan claimed he hadn't seen Rachel for a week before she vanished. But cell tower data, she said, clicking a remote to reveal a map on the screen behind her, tells a different story. Red dots lit up the map, signals from Evan's phone.
Times, dates,
locations. It showed that on the night Rachel disappeared, Evan had driven toward Big Cottonwood Canyon. Rachel's phone, for the final time, pinged from the same area. The jury shifted. Someone whispered. Evan clenched his jaw. But Mark Hanley was ready. He approached the witness stand with a deliberate calm. Detective Hale, he began, isn't it true that this data only places phones in the same general area? Not the people? That's correct, she admitted. Phones, not people. So, you can't say Evan Mercer was with Ms. Wyman that night. She hesitated, barely, but it was enough. No, she replied. Not definitively. A few jurors exchanged glances. Reasonable doubt had crept into the room. Still, the prosecution wasn't finished. Clara Jensen stepped up again, this time holding a thin manila folder. Detective Hale, please tell the jury what you found during your second search of the defendant's office. Lauren opened the folder. Inside was a printed email, one Evan had deleted. The kind people forget exists until investigators dig deep enough. It was from Rachel.
Short, direct,
and now damning. Evan, I'm coming to the office tonight. We need to talk. What you did was wrong, and I won't let it go. The courtroom went silent. Evan's eyes dropped, as if the words physically weighed him down. His attorney scribbled notes, jaw tightening. Clara let the silence stretch before she added, When Ms. Wyman disappeared, she had evidence that could have cost Mr. Mercer everything: his clients, his license, his future. The prosecution had successfully planted a seed, a dangerous one. But then, as the judge called for a recess, something unexpected happened. A court officer approached Clara Jensen and whispered into her ear. Her expression shifted, not with victory but surprise. She nodded slowly, then looked toward the back of the courtroom where a woman stood, trembling, clutching a small notebook. Clara walked toward her, confusion turning into recognition. You weren't supposed to be here," she whispered. The woman's voice shook. "I didn't know it mattered.
But I need to talk to you."
There's something you haven't seen. Something's about Rachel." Clara froze. And across the room, Evan watched, eyes wide, face pale, as if he knew exactly what was about to surface. Because the woman stepping forward was Rachel Wyman's sister. And she had come with a secret the investigation had missed. A secret that could upend the entire trial. Courtroom drama in Utah. The sisters' secret. The storm outside deepened as of this unfolding courtroom drama moved from whispers to shockwaves. The wooden benches creaked as people shifted forward, sensing the shift in energy. It wasn't just tension anymore. It was something sharper, something dangerous. Because whenever a new witness appears midway through a high-profile trial, especially one tied to the victim's family, every rule, every timeline, every assumption can collapse instantly. Her name was Jenna Wyman, Rachel's younger sister. Quiet, nervous, carrying a small, worn notebook pressed tightly to her chest like a lifeline. As recess ended, Jenna took her seat at the witness stand. Her hands shook visibly. The judge studied her for a moment before nodding to the prosecution. "Ms. Wyman," Clara began, her voice steady though her thoughts were racing, "you contacted our office only this morning. Can you explain to the court why?" Jenna swallowed hard. "Because I was scared. And I wasn't sure if what I had mattered." Clara leaned in slightly. "And now?" "Now," Jenna whispered, "I know it does." The jury stiffened. Even Evan Mercer, who until now had tried to maintain the cool posture of an innocent man, blinked rapidly as though struggling to process this new turn. His lawyer leaned toward him and whispered something, but Evan didn't respond. Jenna opened the small notebook. The pages were filled with tight handwriting, dates, and lines that looked more like confessions than notes. "This is Rachel's," she said. "She kept it hidden. I only found it 3 weeks ago when I went to clean out her apartment." The room shifted. This was new. This was unlogged evidence, unaccounted for in discovery. The judge's brow rose. "Ms. Jensen, did your office have knowledge of this material?" "We did not, Your Honor," Clara answered. "This is the first time we're seeing it." Mark Hanley stood immediately. "Your Honor, we object to the inclusion of new evidence in the middle of trial proceedings without proper review." But before the judge could respond, Jenna lifted the notebook higher. "Please," she said, "just listen. It's about Evan." The courtroom collectively inhaled. Clara approached. "What did your sister write about the defendant?" Jenna turned to a page marked by a folded corner. Her voice cracked as she read. "Evan lied to me again. Something's wrong. I saw numbers in the ledger that don't make sense, withdrawals tied to clients who never approved them. I confronted him. He begged me not to say anything. He said it would destroy him. I didn't know what to do." The jurors' expressions shifted again, this time toward suspicion, worry, and something close to fear. Financial misconduct. Pressure. A motive forming like a storm cloud. But Jenna wasn't finished. She flipped another page, hands trembling. "Today Evan came to my apartment. He said people were asking questions. He said I had to stay quiet. He looked scared, really scared. I don't know if he's hiding something he did, or something someone else is making him do." The last words struck the courtroom like a crack of thunder. Someone else. Someone else involved. A new element, a new threat. Clara froze mid-step. Even the judge leaned slightly forward. "Ms. Wyman," Clara said carefully, "do you know who your sister was referring to?" "I didn't," Jenna admitted, voice wavering. "But I think I do now." The courtroom fell eerily silent. Jenna took a shaky breath. 3 weeks ago, before I found the notebook, a man showed up at my apartment. He told me to stop asking questions. He said Rachel wasn't missing, she was gone. And he said Evan wasn't the one I should be afraid of. Her voice broke as she added, he knew my name. He knew where I worked. He knew things about Rachel's finances that only the person she was investigating could know. Evan's head snapped up. His reaction was immediate, visceral, like someone who had been waiting for the truth to crawl out of the shadows. Clara turned to him, studying the cracks in his composure. Mr. Mercer, she said slowly, is there something you want to tell this court? Mark Hanley jumped up. My client will not answer that. But Evan wasn't listening anymore. His breathing was uneven, shallow. His hands gripped the defense table like he was trying to anchor himself to the floor. And then he whispered something, barely audible, but definitely real. He warned her. He warned both of them. The courtroom erupted, but the judge's gavel slammed down, restoring order. Mr. Mercer, the judge commanded, you have the right to remain silent. You are not required to respond without counsel. But Evan's eyes weren't on the judge. They were locked on Jenna. It wasn't me, he said, voice shaking. I didn't hurt Rachel. I tried to protect her. I told her not to follow the money. Follow the money? Clara echoed. Follow it where? Evan's lips parted, but instead of answering, he looked away, toward the back of the courtroom, as if he feared who might be watching. Clara noticed. So did the judge. So did every juror. The tension grew so sharp it felt like it could slice the room in half. Mr. Mercer, Clara said, her tone firm but controlled, if someone else was involved in Ms. Wyman's disappearance, this is the time to say so. Evan's answer came as barely more than a rasp. I can't, he said. If I do, someone else dies. The courtroom froze. Not a sound. Not a breath. And that's when the bailiff approached the judge with an urgent note. The judge opened it, frowned, and looked up with a stunned expression. Ms. Jensen, he said, you need to see this. Immediately. Clara took the note. Her face went pale. Then she turned toward Evan. Mr. Mercer, she said softly, Rachel's car has just been found. The room trembled with shock. And there's something inside it, Clara added. Something that changes everything. Courtroom drama in Utah. The evidence that broke the silence. The discovery of Rachel's car hit the courtroom like a seismic shock. The judge immediately suspended testimony. Reporters scrambled for updates. Evan Mercer sat frozen, fingers digging into the wooden defense table, eyes fixed on nothing. Whatever secrets he had tried to bury were clawing their way to the surface. Outside, the storm raged harder, thunder rolling over Salt Lake City in low, rattling waves. Inside, the truth was preparing to detonate. 20 minutes later, Assistant District Attorney Clara Jensen returned. The entire courtroom watched her walk down the aisle, not with confidence, but with the slow, deliberate steps of someone carrying a truth too heavy to rush. When she reached the prosecutor's table, she didn't speak right away. She placed a small plastic evidence bag on the surface. Inside, a phone, cracked, mud-stained, unmistakably old. Rachel's phone. Every juror stiffened. The judge cleared his throat. Ms. Jensen, please explain what was found. Clara finally lifted her gaze. Her voice was low, steady, but edged with the unmistakable chill of revelation. Rachel's vehicle was located at the bottom of a remote incline in Mill Creek Canyon. Appears it was pushed intentionally. She paused. Inside, investigators found her missing cell phone, and the last recorded video on it was taken the night she disappeared. Evan closed his eyes. His attorney whispered urgently, but he didn't respond. The judge nodded. We'll allow the jury to view the contents. A large monitor was rolled into place. The lights dimmed. Everyone held their breath. The screen flickered to life, grainy, shaky, but real. Rachel was sitting in her car, hair damp from rain, breathing hard. Panic in her eyes. Headlights from another vehicle illuminated her face from behind. Her voice trembled. If something happens to me, it wasn't Evan. The courtroom gasped. Rachel looked into the camera again. He made mistakes. He lied. But he's not the one you should be afraid of. I found something in the ledger, transfers tied to someone higher up. Someone using Evan. Someone watching me. A loud thud jolted the camera. Rachel flinched, turning toward her window. A man's voice yelled, "Open the door." Her breathing quickened. "Pleased if anyone finds this." The video cut suddenly to black. Silence swallowed the courtroom whole. Then chaos erupted. Jenna Wyman burst into tears, covering her face. Reporters scribbled furiously. The jurors exchanged pale, stunned expressions. And Evan, for the first time in weeks, let a quiet sob slip out. The judge restored order with repeated strikes of the gavel. Clara approached the defense table slowly. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "if this isn't about you, then who is it about?" Evan lifted his head with effort, as if every muscle resisted. His voice was hollow. "I told her not to follow the money," he murmured. "I told her it led somewhere dangerous." Clara locked eyes with him. "Dangerous like who?" Evan swallowed hard. "Like the person who runs the investment firm. The one I worked for. The one Rachel worked with." He hesitated, then said the name. Daniel Kincaid. The courtroom erupted again. Kincaid was wealthy, influential, a respected figure whose charitable foundations plastered his name across Utah. His face hung in courthouses, hospitals, and university buildings. But behind closed doors were rumors, quiet, unprovable, easily dismissed. Evan continued, a painful confession pouring out in pieces. "He told me to move the money. He told me Rachel was asking questions. He said if I didn't keep her quiet, he would. I thought he was bluffing." Tears slid down Evan's face now. "Then Rachel disappeared. After that, he told me I'd better stay quiet too." Clara stepped forward. "Why didn't you tell the police?" Evan let out a bitter laugh. "Tell them what? That a billionaire threatened me? That a man who donates to half the city runs a laundering ring through his firm? No one would believe me." A heavy, suffocating silence settled again. The judge leaned back, processing every word. Then the doors to the courtroom burst open. 2 U.S. Marshals entered, flanking a tall, cold-faced man in a dark coat. His hands were behind his back, cuffed. Daniel Kincaid. Gasps. Shouts. Reporters stood, frantic. Clara's jaw tightened. The marshals approached her and handed over a sealed folder. "Ms. Jensen," the lead marshal said, "we executed the warrant." His office safe contained ledger books confirming everything. Wire transfers, shell accounts, and emails documenting threats toward both Rachel and Mr. Mercer. Jenna cried harder. Evan bowed his head as if the weight of months finally lifted and crushed him at the same time. Clara turned toward the judge. "Your Honor, in light of this new evidence, the state moves to dismiss all charges against Evan Mercer pending a full investigation into Daniel Kincaid's criminal activity." The judge nodded slowly. Motion granted. A wave of disbelief swept through the courtroom. But Clara wasn't finished. "Your Honor," she added quietly, Rachel's phone contained one more file. A voicemail saved automatically. She pressed play. Rachel's voice, shaking. "If anything happens, it's Kincaid. Please don't let him bury the truth." The recording ended. A few jurors wiped tears. The judge removed his glasses, eyes damp. Even the bailiff looked shaken. The trial was over. But the tragedy wasn't. Clara approached Jenna gently. "We're going to bring her justice," she promised. "Every piece of the truth, no matter how deep it goes." Jenna nodded through tears. "Thank you." As Kincaid was escorted out, he turned, eyes cold, jaw clenched. Not remorseful, not afraid, just calculating. Because powerful men don't go down quietly. And somewhere inside the courthouse walls, Clara felt it. This case wasn't over. Not by a long shot. A storm had only just begun. A storm that would shake Utah's justice system for years. And as the camera crews captured the chaos outside, Clara's voice echoed quietly in her mind. If you think this case was intense, they're not ready for the next one.